left-wing Kingz. Listen, think, act, repeat.
Greg Abbott, the man we all love to hate. So, Greg McWheely called for four
Greg McWheely.
special sessions, all right, to try to push school vouchers through. Now, the Texas House went ahead and said, shut your ass up. They held the line, and they refused to make school vouchers a thing of reality. So, Walanda, tell us a little bit, tell our audience about what school vouchers are and what some of the risks are to public education.
Okay, just a change on the semantics, because we don't want to call them vouchers. They're called education savings accounts, but better known as a voucher. So just on the semantic issues. So what happens is the House plan links school funding to education savings accounts, i.e. vouchers. That lets parents opt out from basically going to schools and getting a certain amount to be able to pay for using state funding to pay for charter schools and private schools. So Abbott uses this, is called freedom, saying school choice, which you already actually have on that. You get $8,000 per student each year to be used at a private school tuition. And that goes for like tutors, uniforms, other approved educational expenses. And they're going to have some type of committee that actually is supposed to oversee that. But nobody knows what that looks like, which is weird. So the program would be open to virtually everyone. That's K through 12 students. And I don't even know how you're going to pay for that. But anyways, because again, it's $8,000 per family. Just imagine that. And basically, in private schools and charter schools, as you guys know, they don't have the same rules that apply to public schools. They don't have to divulge as much information. Like, you can go look at all of your public schools and see how they are funded, where every single dollar is spent. You don't do that with charter versus private schools. They don't have to do that. So again, they're not required to show any educational expenses, and really aren't audited. They are not audited the same way as far as a public school. So basically, public schools are already underfunded. So just imagine you're taking money from your public schools, and now you're disseminating the information or monies between public, now private, and charter. And no, that's supposed to be a law that you can't, because most private schools are religiously inclined or linked by some kind of way, and so we already have laws with that. So that's where we're at with it. And now we're about to have a fifth session in regards to voting again, because Abbott is saying, I will not give schools any public funding unless you pass the educational savings account. So basically, he's holding everything hostage. That's why your schools still haven't been funded, and everybody is struggling at this point in time in Texas with funding. And that goes for your rural, all the way to schools that primarily get or have more money just because of your taxes on your property. That's what it is.
Right here in the good old state of Texas, right?
Right.
But it ain't important to vote for your Texas senators and your governor, and we miss all those elections. We just let those fools go in there and do what they want to.
Right.
And right now, schools are in jeopardy, right? You know what I'm saying? That's basically what you're saying. You go through everything she's saying right now. She's saying your public school system's in jeopardy. Why is that important to you? Because I don't know no private schools that cost $8,000, right?
Nope.
That's like they give you pennies on the dollar. What happens if you don't come up with the rest of the money? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What does your school kid go to school then? That's one problem. Second problem is like, what are they teaching my kids? Because now I can dictate the what's being taught to them, because they're going to a private school and not being monitored by anybody. So I can tell them slavery ain't real, and and the KKK is a beautiful organization that did good things in America. I mean, tell them whatever I want to. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of problems that's going on. But once again, if we ain't paying attention, is what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be wondering why your kid can't go to school or isn't going to school, or the school he goes to don't have anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's why, because that vote that you think ain't important, turns out to be pretty important. And the people in power understand that. And that's why this dude's going for a fifth session to pass something that's not going to benefit you at all. Sounds good. They tell you that, hey, we're going to give you $8,000 and you can take your school kid any way you want till you find out the school's $25,000 a semester.
Right. Right. And you still can't pay for it. And it doesn't accept, you have special needs students. We're not talking about them.
Yeah.
Again, basically, it's welfare for the rich, because the people who actually benefit, and if you do your research on schools that have like charter and actually have passed, because there are some that have passed educational
states.
savings accounts, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida's one, North Carolina, and I'll talk about those in just a minute, how they actually profit. Okay, off of you.
That's basically what it is.
Just think about it. Like, why is he working so hard to get these passed? So you think he cares about all these kids in Texas? I'm sorry, y'all, to let y'all know, people are in it for a lot of the wrong reasons.
Well, it's a
and money is one.
privatization of schools, just like
Right.
they do prisons. It's
Exactly.
a privatization of,
Yeah.
and they're looking at bottom line profit. Now you not only got to pay for your school, but somebody can profit off of it.
Right.
And I guarantee you, the shareholders and the board of trustees and all the people on there ain't looking out for your best interest of your kid getting an education or anything.
Right.
None of that. You know what I'm
No.
saying? So
Nope.
So it's really interesting to see. But I looked up, so on some of them, Michigan, 80% have all significant part of their operations under the control for profit companies. So they'd use the educational savings accounts, and people who they actually own the property. That's how they get their money. Because I was like, well, how do they make money off the education
like
system?
McDonald's.
Right, exactly. They own the buildings, and then they charge lease agreements. And guess who the lease agreement's paid by the person who owns the building? I said, so you can actually make money with charter schools, because I couldn't figure out, like, how are you making money? Because public schools, we don't make money. I'm sorry, they don't. So I was like, what are they doing in order to do that? So that's in Michigan. Pennsylvania, auditor, same thing, lease reimbursements that he gets. Florida took over leases, raised leases. First, he sold them for $1, and then sold them after that for $1,325,666 a year. So these people are making money off of your kids,
And off
off
us.
of your taxes,
Yeah.
off of what you pay. And that is why they keep pushing and pushing. And obviously, Abbott must have some type of, some people, of course, in his ear, like, you better pass this. I'm trying to make money here. And you're
Or they've
preventing
given
that.
him money.
Or they're giving him money. I don't know what the
and
kickbacks
told him,
are.
hey, you know what?
Right.
We'll give you this cut, or they're lobbying and, giving him funds in order for him to push this through or try to get it passed. So it's a benefit to him personally.
And again, businesses are about profit and loss. Am I correct? There's nothing to do about educating your students. It's about money, 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 and whose pocket it's falling in. And who's hurting is your kids. And again, I don't have a dog in the fight. My kids are grown now, in college, fighting their own fight. But public education, if you want it as it is now and you want it to be better, it has to be funded. That's just like anything in life, And so taking from what's already a hurting system is preventing, as far as having your students be successful. Because one day, some of these people, the younger people, are really the ones who's hurt. I'm thinking about people having kids now and they're going into the public education system. It's definitely going to see an impact.
Well, let's break it down with you being the resident educator here. You know what I'm saying? Let's break it down and say, like, what are the requirements to be a private school teacher?
Some are different, but a lot of times they don't have to have their certification, if that's what you're asking. Do you have to go through the state and have to be certified?
Because
No.
the
Or
government
charter.
regulates public schools on who's going to teach your kids.
That is correct.
They got to make sure they have a certain level of education out of it. But private schools, since it's owned by somebody else,
Right, it's privatization.
they can have your next door neighbor come and teach them all they
Right.
care. What's the difference in pay?
Right. Typically, charter schools make a lot less than your
Exactly.
public education systems.
Exactly. It's ran
Just
like
because,
a business.
different credentials. Yeah, it's because it is a bit. Yeah. It's
Yeah, anybody in business knows labor is your biggest
Right.
is your biggest cost. You know what I'm saying? So I get to pay my teachers less.
right.
Don't have to get
They
people
don't have
who
the
are
credentials.
educated.
Right.
I know a couple of
And
people.
you don't have to show them your curriculum.
Exactly. I know a couple of people that went from like working at Walmart, now they work in charter schools. I mean, I know
Right.
that. So,
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
So-
couldn't get hired on through a public education system, but you're like, oh, you work for a school. How did that happen? Well, that's exactly how that happens.
So it's almost if we were to just do that like hospitals, like let's take doctors. They don't need any board certifications. But now,
Right.
would you take your child or anybody, would you go get operated on a doctor and they didn't have any certifications or anything
No
and they got paid
education.
less than it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, we're basically, it's a war against our kids' education is where we're at. And people got to
Exactly.
understand that the only weapon you got is to vote and do something about it
Yes.
and pay attention. You know what I'm saying?
Pay
So
attention.
one of the things that's important for us to do as we go through and we talk through these as we talk through this situation or this scenario that you just brought up, I think it's important too to kind of bring in the data that supports what you're saying, because there is data out there, and I know we've looked at it before, Walanda, that states that the people who graduate or go to these charter schools, their test scores are lower than people in the public schools. So it's not just the fact, because you could argue, somebody could argue and say like, well, who cares if they're still smart? If they, I don't have to have, because people like to say this, I don't need to have a degree to be able to do this or do that. Well, sometimes you do. At least to be your most proficient, right? Because you may not be proficient in teaching, but you could teach somebody some stuff, but you're not as effective. The outcome might be that this person is not as smart or doesn't know as much about the subject matter because you're not certified, right, on how to teach it or what to teach. So we got to back up some of what you're saying too with some data. So I just wanted to bring up that point that there is data that's
supports that. Well, I will say this: if you go and look, gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't put up the websites, and you can look and see like how many the graduation rates from charter and certain private schools, and then how successful they are when they go to secondary education. And they'll say, well, I have 100% graduation rate and 100% that are accepted into college. But then you go look at their completion and it's way lower. I want to say it's about 60% lower than somebody who went through the public system on that. So yes, they have a higher acceptance rate, but they're not completing their secondary education. So what is that saying? You know what I mean? Like, are they actually ensuring that they are ready and prepared for secondary education as well? Because we want to prepare for our kids in workforce. I mean, whether they go to college or not, because everybody's not supposed to go to college, and that's fine, but I want to make sure that they are successful in the real world and they have something to be able to lean back on and be successful in life. Because we do, as far as certifications and all kind of things now in public education that charter schools and private schools do not offer.
Yeah, we definitely want all these kids to be successful at whatever
Whether
they
you go
do,
to college
whatever
or not.
school they go to,
military, whatever.
And we also want to be successful. So make sure you click on that like button to help us pull up our numbers, help us get all the views that we can get. And if you like this content and the conversations that we have, make sure that you subscribe to Left Wing Kingz.
He be setting me up too when he do it. Look at me like you gonna say something to me. Just do that shit. Nah, have me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
My biggest thing from this is like, please pay attention. A lot of times people do not pay attention to what's going on in politics, and they think, oh, this doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. I don't care about all that. But a lot of you do have kids. A lot of you have grandkids. A lot of you have nieces and nephews. So maybe it doesn't directly impact you, but just know that probably somebody in your family is being impacted by the decisions that are being made. And if you don't listen to it, they're just going to pass. And you're like, how did this happen? Well, it's been happening, and you're just not attentive to it. Exactly. And I do want to give you Abbott's phone number. So because I do call this man, I call him.
You got Abbott's phone number?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to y'all right now. Yes, I have Abbott's phone number because I'm very serious about what I say. If you want your voice to be heard, then you have to contact them. So I do want to share this.
I'm calling him at 2 a.m. tonight.
Thank you. I want you to call him every day and leave a message. You can leave messages. So it's 1-800-843-5789. Once again, 1-800-843-5789. That's your Governor Abbott's phone number. Again, he holds the purse for a lot of decisions that are being made fiscally and then, of course, impacting your students. Okay, our kids, our future.
Yeah, so you got something to say, Ace, real quick? I know you want to talk about that phone number.
You think I'm not joking.
They got the 800 number. That's kind of suspect, but
it's a phone number. It has to be toll free. I'm not paying it.
I had one of those like in 93 or something.
I can't call his house.
A message number like
it is the governor's office. I can't call his personal phone number.
Yeah, I'm saying that's suspect though. I'm just saying. But no, I was gonna say, we got an election year coming up, and everybody gets excited about the election, and they come out and vote. They have their opinions for for 4 years, and they go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm just a big advocate, and I'm going to tell you this right now, is local and state politics affect you directly. Those are the things that affect your households. And so, you got to be involved with that. So something like this is definitely important if you got school-age kids, grandkids, great nieces, or whatever. It's the education, and it's changing.
Yeah.
Some things that the government just got to do. We need regulation on. We just can't go... We can't just let anybody go teach our kids.
Right. Then
you wonder why bad things are happening to people and our kids are acting the way they're acting. It's because the structure's all messed up because a couple of people have just found a loophole to make dollars out of it.
Right.
And that's basically what's happening. And we got an idiot. I'm sorry. We got this 800 number now. So we got an idiot in office that don't care nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? And the fifth time, like what's going on in Texas is so important that you have to go to for the fifth time, 5 times, you done went and called a session on that. But when it comes to immigration, You just shipping people off and doing everything like that. You're not
Right.
improving that. Hey, we're a border state. It's what it is. We have to deal with that. But he shuns on that, and he goes after our kids' education.
Right. And he won't bring it to vote. Have y'all noticed that? Like, everybody's like, why can't you vote on it? Well, they're not going to bring it to the people.
No.
They're not going to bring it. That this is not coming to the people, guys, because he doesn't really want to know what you think or how you feel or the impact.
Yeah, and he mishandled Uvalde. Like, nobody got fired from that. You know what I'm saying? And there was all kinds of state troopers down there. Every time I go to Kickapoo and I'm passing through there, it's like a whole bunch of damn state troopers down there. So it's a lot of them down there. And they were down there that day, and they should have been held responsible for that, and they never have. So, I mean, it's just horrific to hear what he's trying to do to get this passed through so a couple of his friends can make dollars. But hey, that's the Texas way, though.
And so he can make dollars. It's like he's
Oh,
getting
it's his
pressure.
money.
He's
Right.
getting
He's
pressure
pressured.
to do this because of either his, I don't know, his business partners, people giving lobbyists, whatever it is. I mean, they're making it this is his priority. Like, and
Over
for
everything.
what? What's the benefit to people? So I want to talk about the pros and the cons real quick. But before I do that, Steve said, even if you don't have kids, these kids grow up to be part of the society, and we have to deal with them as adults. So they got to be educated, like appropriately, and given the right context around things. So he's 100% accurate with that. And when we talk about, like, you know, school vouchers, so okay, we've told everybody about how we feel about them, but in order to be fair and have a real conversation around it, we need to talk about the pros and the cons a little bit. So the arguments for school vouchers are: it allows parents to choose their child's education, improves education by making public and private schools compete with one another, it helps to combat segregation, and children in failing schools can seek better education. Now, I got arguments against all four of those things personally, but this is what they are saying are the reasons to have school vouchers. What are your thoughts on those? Any?
What was the first one?
So the first one is allow parents to choose their child's education.
Okay, so you already have school choice. School choice is not some new phenomenon that all of a sudden turned up because Abbott came into office. There is homeschool. You can homeschool your kids. Hello, people. You may homeschool your kids.
Nobody want to do that.
Okay, exactly. But you can. And then
school choice is not for every, like,
right.
School choice exists in some districts, and what
what I
that
was
means is
gonna
you
say.
can choose one school over another in your district.
In your district.
Yeah.
So I will say this, and this is the funny thing, because again, they tie your hands. I was like, so okay, let's do school choice. So I think if I live in SISD, I should be able to go to NISD, NEISD. You can't do that. You have choice within the district itself. But so let's open borders, but they don't want to talk about that. So when they say school choice, they do bind districts. Districts would love to have, hey, if you live on the south side and you want to come over here, let's go.
Yeah.
They prevent them from doing those kind of things.
I was just gonna
Why
say.
is that? Why would the state do that? So they don't do open borders. But do know you already have choice. You can still already go choose to do private school. Once again, not everybody can pay for it, but
That's the point I was going to make.
But not
School
everybody can
choice,
pay
you talk
for
about
it.
private school, you brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
They're giving you $8,000.
It ain't gonna pay for it.
That ain't going to pay for your private school.
And then you're gonna subsidize other people.
There
to
was
pay for
actually
it.
a video that showed, like, most, I think 70-something%
Mm-hmm.
of people who are benefiting in the states that already have school vouchers are wealthy,
Wealthy
and they're
people.
already in private school.
Yeah.
So they're just using it as a discount
for them.
for what they're paying. No one else can afford it.
Yeah.
It's just $8,000.
Right. So that's the first one. But just know school choice is not some new type of phenomenon. What I learned about what they do, I love the semantics that they use, because they'll use school choice, or they're indoctrinating your children. Yeah, we're indoctrinating them, telling them to be good character people. Like, can you go to school? It ain't working, whatever we're doing. I tell them to go to class every day and still walking the hall. You know what I mean? I said, so they use little buzzwords, or we're using books that are not acceptable for kids. So now you're banning books. So they're doing anything and that they can that would hurt public education, even though these things are really not occurring. And if they are occurring, they're occurring in such a small amount, minute, maybe in certain areas, you know what I mean, that are addressed. But I'm sure it's happening in private schools. Because you would never know, because they don't have to give you that information, and it don't have to be explicit on their curriculum. You can go on any district and pull up their information on what is being taught. What are the TEKS, which are governed by the state? It's a state. You can Google that, guys. Google TEKS. That's what we teach in schools, because that is what we're mandated to do, and that's what we get audited to do. And if we don't do it, they come in and shut your schools down. So it's not like we're not being transparent, but who doesn't have to be transparent?
Well, to
is your
Stacey's
private.
point, she says there's so much pressure on teachers in public education, so many checks and balances to
Right.
show that students are making progress. Like an onion, charter schools don't have that kind of oversight, and
Correct.
the kids are shortchanged just so our governor can hold onto the dollars and brag about how much money he saved. It's just a bunch of lies. Is what she said.
Touche.
Yeah, the segregation part caught my attention, but when I think
Right.
about it, I don't even think about racial segregation. I think it's more class
It's
segregation.
economical. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's plain and simple. If you can afford to go to good schools, and then you'll be able to pay for it and get your kids there.
But
if
to
you
your
don't,
point, it's class segregation. But when you look at classism, who's more likely to have more money? Black people or white people?
yeah, of
White
course.
people.
I mean,
So-
I think I'm not saying that's not part of it, but I
But
think
right,
it
but they're
falls
doing it
in-
on class. Yeah.
I think it
Definitely
falls
economic.
toward more of a yeah. I mean, of course we know that, but
Right.
but I think financially,
They
what people
focus.
don't understand it. They're not talking to you.
No.
you can't
can't
afford
afford it.
private
So to your
school.
point, like even if you white, if you ain't got the money,
Yeah,
You ain't going.
They're not talking to you. They're not talking to you.
Right.
Your kid's not gonna go there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't get white privilege pass on this one. You gotta have the money for it. You know what
that's
I'm
a
saying?
great point.
And most people don't have
and
it.
they don't have that money like that. You know what I'm saying? Believe
I was
you
kind
me.
of caught up by the one like making public and private schools compete. I'm like,
Right. They like
so don't they already
competition.
compete? I mean, private schools already exist. So
Yes.
private schools are already competing for people, but they are, here's the thing. Private school, just like anyone who markets, USAA markets to the military. Private schools market to wealthy. They're not trying to compete for your money.
Yeah.
Because you, to your
Don't
point
have
earlier,
it.
you don't got it. You got that $8,000, they're gonna laugh at you. Okay.
Yeah. And it's like this, like if your kid, like some people, you depend on that bus to come pick your kid up to take him to
Oh
school.
yeah, and you don't get that.
That's what I'm saying.
Nope.
So that's not if your kid got to get up by 7 something to get on the bus, they got to go to the closest school next to them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But if you ain't got no public school to provide that transportation for you,
What are you doing?
your kid gonna
Yeah.
do what you gonna do to educate your kid?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
most people have to work and they depend on that.
Right, service. Mhm.
And they depend on that. The kids in a safe environment going
Right.
to school. You put them on school bus, it's safe. And
Exactly.
you understand it. Now your kid just trying to get up and make it to some private school because they gave you $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, hey, that's gonna help you with transportation too. I mean, Uber's expensive. If you got to be
Right.
paying Ubers every damn day to send your kid to school.
Yeah.
Man, so
Well, the other one on here, the last one, was children in failing schools can seek better education. So I don't agree with that. There's a bunch of different reasons why, but the first one to me is kind of like you taking $8,000 of taxpayer money to give to a private school when you could be using that $8,000
To better your-
to better the school.
yeah.
So
For everyone, for every student,
And it ain't going in nobody's pocket, right?
Right.
That's
Every
that's
kid.
the downfall of that. Somebody ain't getting rich off of it.
Exactly. When we talk about democratic process, that this public education is a democratic process. We have to educate every single student. We do not get to, oh, I don't like that one, or this one don't look the way I want them to look. We service everyone versus, so that whole segregation thing, I don't, like I said, I'm with you. I think it's definitely talking about on a social economic status more, which does impact, you look at your Black and brown students as well, but not everybody's wealthy. We would have struggled back in the day to send our kids to private school. And one of our kids did go to private school for a little bit, but I definitely choose public. As soon as I could, my child went to public schools because I believe in public education.
Well,
I know what we do every day.
Well, it's a few of us that make a couple of dollars that think, okay, well, they ain't talking to me, and I can afford the tuition and $8,000, and I hear that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm Black and I make a lot of money. I'm
Right,
good,
right.
so hey, that's good for me. But is that good for the community? Though?
Right. For everyone.
That's good for the community. But you like your friends, your kids rolling around friends named Chip and all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Did you just say Chip?
Bel Air.
Ain't no
Bel
brother's
Air.
name.
This
Ain't no
is Bel
brother's
Air
name.
up in here.
Ain't no brother's name Chip. You know what I'm saying? But but they cool with that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I guess it makes them feel good or whatever. But just as a people, come on, man. Like there's some sister single mom. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
gotta send their kids to public school. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is, and they need a good public school.
Yes.
But taking $8,000 and getting a discount. You good. Your family
Right.
good. To your
And
son
you can
gotta grow up with
afford.
Chip, you know what I'm
You
saying?
can afford to pay that because, like I said, 70% of the people were already paying.
Yeah.
They were already paying the full amount. But now you're just getting an $8,000 discount
they're like,
because you're
discount.
wealthy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But
I don't have to pay
you
as
can
much.
afford
Yay.
it. It's not
Right.
like you're in trouble and can't afford it. It's
You're
only
already paying
30% of people who's taking advantage of that now, that extra $8,000. And they probably people like us who, we can afford to, since we had our kid in private school before. But we made a decision not to. So maybe we might, let's send them back now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can do that. Those are going to be the 30% that's doing it. But at the end of the day, to me, this is just another way to privatize, just like they did with prisons.
Mm-hmm.
And prisons used to be state run. Then they found that they can make money off of it.
And here we are.
Businesses started doing what they're doing. It's become privatized.
Police
it's a
started
big
locking
money,
people up.
big industry. It causes people to get locked up and things like that. I mean, and now we're in a place where, okay, we want to go ahead and do the same thing with education, right? So we just got to be careful where our money is going to, because that's supposed to be public money, man. For all, like you said, to better all of us, not just a few people who can afford to go to private school.
Yeah.